Cashmere jackets and sneakers are on the agenda for today. Now, whether you are in a colder climate heading in towards a warmer season now and you are starting to shed your puffer jackets or your down jackets, or if you're like us in Australia where it's starting to head into the cooler side of the year, then cashmere jackets are always something that are fantastic to consider in your wardrobe when you're assembling a number of classic items from Hermes ready to wear. Now, there are a few things that you need to consider, and I have tried on a variety of items, but before we get into that, let's do this unboxing. Now, I have been looking for these sneakers for a while, and they are a supremely popular item from Hermes. And the reason for that is that since they've been released, they've been so hard to get because they are such a classic style. Let's open this up here. They do come with a spare pair of laces in here, just in that little box there. And I've been hunting for these for quite a few months and they never seem to come in my size, but I do have fairly big feet, so that probably doesn't help me either. So this is introducing the day sneaker with the rose gold buckle. I mean, can you believe how beautiful this rose gold buckle is? I mean, I just think that the shade of rose gold that Hermes does is so stunning. And if it wasn't for the issues that I sometimes hear about with rose gold tarnishing when they are on bags, I would probably have a rose gold hardware item very high up on my list. But I think that having them in a shoe, you probably don't notice it too much, and it's something that's easy to replace when it is in a shoe too. You can just get a new pair of sneakers when you... I had tried on a bunch of sneakers, and I think what works really well with these are they do have a very good heel height. So we're looking at a 3 centimeter heel height here. They are very, very comfortable. They've got some nice soft padding around the edges here, and the clasp doesn't add any extra ridiculous weight to it. It is very, very lightweight. You don't need to undo the buckle every time, but you can if you wanted to, and that's just the way that it opens like this here. And of course, it's just easy to slip your foot in. You wouldn't need to open this clasp every time, but it certainly is a very, very cute detail to them. Now it's got this Hermes logo along the back here, as well as the slanted H design along the back. For me, I think the main concern is keeping them clean. So obviously with a white sneaker, you do need to be a little bit careful with where you wear them. Maybe just keeping an eye out for the weather, whether it's going to be wet or muddy or rainy on that day. But I feel like it's a nice sort of dressy sneaker. You can certainly run errands in it, go shopping indoors, that sort of thing, but just keeping in mind that you do need to ensure that they do stay white. That is the beauty of wearing white sneakers, isn't it? It's like that amazing feat of being able to keep them white. So these are a stunning addition. They do have Hermes written along the back here. I'm very, very happy with these. These are so comfortable. So I was trying on a bunch of different shoes, and as soon as I put these in, I decided within like 20 seconds of putting them on, I said, yes, I am taking these. And my sales assistant knows that I'm quite indecisive. So when I have made my mind up so quickly, it obviously is the right one for me. Now just popping this to the side here, and just a quick unboxing of a Mother's Day present that I got from STRATHBERRY. So bless my husband, he has been so incredibly supportive of my Hermes journey. He doesn't want to mess with the algorithm and go in and shop with my Hermes SA without knowing exactly the right thing to say or do. He knows that I don't want a non-quota bag. Let me take that back. He knows that I don't want a non-quota bag, so he just wanted to look for something that was simple and classic, and he does know that STRATHBERRY does make their items handmade. They do have a very lovely soft calfskin leather. They are handmade in Spain, and I did open this up because it was a Mother's Day present, and he has bought for me the Nano Tote. So look how adorable it is. It is just a cute little low-key bag when you don't need something that's too flash and you want to sort of go underneath the radar, then I think Strathberry is a nice brand. And if you do appreciate really nice leathers, this has got a really lovely leather grain to it. And this little bit goes over the top like that. What is interesting, and what I really do like, it has this magnetic closure on the inside. So you can see that bit there, it just attaches to the other magnet, and so it's very, very easy to get in and out of and to close. Great for the security of having your bag closed like that. I'll just take the stuffing out. The only thing that does concern me a little bit is it does have some suede lining on the inside. Hopefully I can manage to keep that clean, but perhaps having a insert in there might be the way to go. And you can see it does come with a little identity code in there, and it is made in Spain. So just a cute little bag to run around with, and also, you know, just for low-key nights out, I think that would be fantastic. And the stitching is beautiful, and I think it'll be a great little addition to have in the bag family. My sales assistant has noticed that I have had an interest in their cashmere jackets, and I think this leads on from my love of the feel of their cashmere scarves. So this is a beautiful cashmere scarf that I got about a year or two ago, and it's just been such a nice warm addition to my wardrobe, and it's just so soft. It's just incredibly soft, and they really do cashmere so well. So cashmere is quite a breathable fabric, and it does mean that on the days when it can edge towards being a little bit warmer, you won't be sweating too much, you won't be feeling too uncomfortable with wearing cashmere. When Hermes designs their cashmere jackets, you'll see that a lot of their range does include some really timeless designs. So they do often have quite a loose silhouette. They are belted in some cases if you do want to bring them in at the waist a little bit. But you know that when you are buying a cashmere jacket from Hermes, it isn't going to date like some of the more fashionable items that they have, or that you get from some other brands like Lune or Celine. The other thing is that they do look best with clean lines. So when you do buy an Hermes cashmere coat, you are looking at trying not to make it too muddied up with different sorts of accessories. So certainly you can, but I do find that the cashmere coat looks best if you're just wearing it with a very simple outfit, and you're not wearing too many layers or colors that are going to overwhelm it. And the last thing is that they are quite lightweight, so you aren't going to feel like you're weighed down by the heaviness of this coat all the time. Now, some of the negatives that are related to buying the coat are, for most people, the concern whether their cashmere is going to pill. Now, I hadn't really thought about this too much when it came to Hermes cashmere, but then I did notice when I came home and I looked at this scarf. So I've had this scarf for, as I said, about 2 years, but you will notice, and I'll bring this up a bit closer to the camera, that there is a little bit of pilling just starting to happen on this. And you can also see it in the grey portions as well. So I've had this for probably, I'd say, under 2 years, if I remember correctly. So not a very long time. Now, I have had this Louis Vuitton scarf for over 10 years, and it pretty much looks like the day that I bought it. So you can see that there isn't any evidence of any pilling at all on there. It has been dry cleaned before, and it's been through the works. I've taken this on so many holidays, and it has worn very well. So I'm not exactly sure why that is the case, but there does seem to be some mixed reviews as to whether or not cashmere jackets from Hermes do peel easily. Now, when you are buying a cashmere jacket, this is not meant to replace some of your very hardy jackets. So it's not meant to be a daily hard wearing coat, but it's supposed to be an item that you wear in rotation when you want a sprinkle of luxe to your outfit. And so that is something that you need to keep in mind. You can't buy a cashmere jacket from Hermes and think that you're going to get an incredibly huge good of cost per wear over a short period of time. You're hoping to keep this piece into the long term and get many years down the line of wear of it, but it's not going to be one of those ones that you just bring out for every occasion, you know, the running to school, running to the shops, running to work, that sort of thing. I think this is really just an occasional wear sort of item. In addition, you do need to be aware that the cashmere jackets are unlined, so they can be a little bit harder to slip in and out of, especially when you're wearing some extra layers underneath. You still do need down and puffer jackets for winter. So the style of the Hermes jackets and coats in the cashmere, they are quite loose fitting, they are oversized, and therefore it does allow that cold airflow to go underneath the jacket. Often you'll get the best sort of insulation with those puffer jackets, with those down jackets, because they're so close to your skin. They're really creating that pocket of warmth next to your skin there. So you will notice that you won't get that same element of warmth from a cashmere coat when it's so oversized. I did notice that the large pockets on some of these coats were a little bit unflattering to the waist area. Obviously this does contribute to that look of being oversized and bulky, but I did find that at certain angles, sometimes the pockets did seem to sort of hit you at the waist a little bit oddly. So for some people they might not mind that, but for me that was probably one of the main reasons why I did pass on those jackets. A brand where if you are considering quite reliable cashmere that doesn't pill is Loro Piana, and I don't know why exactly Hermes seems to have a little bit of this issue with pilling from some customers. My essay did say that Hermes does do their cashmere in a certain particular way where the fibers are not glued together, so there's not a lot of that sticky substance that's put in between the fibers, but rather that they weave intricately through those fibers to get them to stay together. And I guess that's a very beautiful way of doing it, but whether or not this contributes to some of the pilling, look, it could be a possibility. Let's talk about some of the jackets that I did try. So the first one that I tried was the cashmere wrap coat, and I did try this in the Blanc Natural. This has double-sided cashmere with lovely clou de sel engraved buttons, and they have this embossed lambskin brown buttons on it, and it's just a stunning combination. This stark Blanc color and these beautiful brown leather buttons. Now this was absolutely stunning. They didn't quite have my size to begin with, but they did manage to find a size that was in storage. So he brought that out for me to try. And look, I thought that this was an absolutely beautiful piece, but I think a couple of things held me back from this. One was my concern as to whether it looked like a lab coat. And the second thing was my inability to look after white things very well. So clearly I do occasionally get adventurous and want to go for white, but I felt like when it came to cashmere, look, I'm the sort of person that might buy this jacket and then spill my coffee down the front of my jacket on the first day. So that was something really for me to keep in mind. And the color is just so pristine that even just the slightest little dot is going to muddy up how beautiful and pristine this outfit looks. So I just didn't trust myself in this color, and unfortunately the Blanc Natural was the only color that they had in the size 32, which is my size. The 34 was just too large. It does come in other colors, the black, the gray, rose incarnate. I think if they'd had rose incarnate in my size, it would have been a definite yes. The silhouette on this, belted or with it tied at the back just to keep the front open a little bit, it is really such a stunning piece. Cashmere wrap coat is made in France. The other thing that I did try was the belted cashmere long vest. This also has the clou de sel buttons and made in Italy. This one looked quite baggy on me and sort of a bit matronly, so I decided not to go for this, but I can see this being such a marvelous piece when you're sort of in between. You know, sometimes you don't need something that's as big as a coat or a jacket, and then you also don't want to leave with a very light cardigan. So I'm a big fan of a vest, and I think a long vest wrap coat is really something that I would love to consider in the long term if there is a different style that comes out in Hermes, but this one was just a little bit too boxy, a little bit too loose. I did try the cashmere jacket. Now this one was probably the greatest contender for one that I wanted to purchase on the spot, but they didn't have my size. So they only had it in the 34. This is also a double-sided cashmere. It has those lovely cloudicelle buttons again, made in Italy. It came in a variety of colors. So there's Vert Tundra, which is a green, Marron, Caramel, Blanc Natural, and Noir. I also have heard of it in the past coming in the Rose Incarnate. Again, if it was there in the Rose Incarnate in my size, it would have been a yes, yes, and a yes again. But I didn't find it in my size, and I do believe that this is a piece that has been brought back time and time again. They've done in every year some sort of version of this. So I did tell myself, just be a little bit patient. Perhaps in this new winter season that comes through, they will do this again in another color and in my size. And this time I'm going to have to be a little bit faster at getting there to get these smaller sizes. So the sizes are extremely generous. So even in a 32, I believe it's going to be a little bit loose, but that's the sort of style that you're looking at with this sort of pea style coat. It's meant to be a loose, a relaxed fit, and it's supposed to really last the test of time. Now onto the supple cashmere coat. This has a really, really boxy shape. It's made in Italy, a very classic style again. I did try this in the Jaune Aurore, which is like a yellow color. I also tried it in oatmeal color. I think this is the beige natural. Also has the cloudicelle buttons. I think Hermes knows they're onto a good thing with these buttons, and it really does add to the luxury of these pieces. And it has a folded collar. So I did find that these were really sort of like straight up and down, and I think that was what contributed to the fact of me ruling it out very, very early on. It just didn't seem to be the right sort of fit for my body shape. Now, the last piece that I tried that I was probably very much on the brink of getting, but I think that it was probably a little bit too high on the end of cost, and this was the double-breasted cashmere jacket. Now I couldn't find this on the website, so my essay did tell me that it was quite a rare piece and he only had one of these in, and it was in a sort of an oatmeal color. It was over $20,000 for this piece. It had some really gorgeous leather detailing around the neck, and as soon as I saw the leather detailing, I thought it was going to be $30,000 plus, but it was sort of sitting at around $20,000. And I felt for that leather detailing, it was quite a unique piece. And this had some really significant weight. And after trying on some of these lighter jackets, I felt like this piece really stood out to me. It had some really great warmth, but a very, very loose fit. So you can see that it makes me look very, very baggy. And I guess you just have to lean into that really baggy, loose fit to really enjoy this. And I thought perhaps that might be the case for me, but I was only sitting on it about 80%. So I thought, you know what, this is a lovely piece, but I needed to sit on it and think about it a little bit. It is so easy to go into the store and really get swept away and carried away by the beauty of these items. And look, I have thought about it occasionally since I left it at the store, but not enough for me to go back and say that is definitely the one for me. I think that oversized appearance is probably too big, and I don't think that I would be able to get enough wear out of it in the long term to be able to justify that sort of purchase. Really rare, unique piece. Now I actually spotted it. It was hanging up and I went over to touch it. Because I'm a very tactile person, and you know, with cashmere you got to touch, and he immediately swanned over and said to me that this was an extremely special piece, and he told me that it was made out of vicuña cashmere. Now the vicuña, for those that don't know, it is the national animal of Peru. It's on the Peruvian coat of arms, and the Incans really valued vicuñas for their wool, but unfortunately they were hunted very heavily for their wool, and they became this really rare and endangered species. Now when you touch this cashmere, this is like cashmere that is just the next echelon of cashmere. You can really feel that it is so delicate. Now for me that's a little bit scary because I can imagine myself, you know, making a tear in the item or something like that, or my kids pulling on it or yanking it and stretching it and that sort of thing. But I think if you are able to have a place in your heart for a piece like this, and certainly the right sorts of occasions to wear it, it would be just the most fabulous addition to your wardrobe. But it does come at a price of over $110,000 for that one piece. And he did say that these vicunias, they're only like shorn like once every 3 years or something. So because they're so highly protected, they can only have their fur taken off once every 3 years. And in the meantime, if they want to get any more of it, they have to like stroke their belly with a special brush or something like that, and then just meticulously gather those fibers. And all of those fibers together are then collected to make this special jacket. So this also has the Clue to Sell buttons on it. It is a fabulous piece, but probably not for a client like me. So where does this leave me? So I did say before, look, the sizes are getting a little bit difficult for me. I do need a very small size. So I think what I'll do is I will wait for the new winter season to come through. I will try and get in a little bit earlier and try and grab some of those smaller sizes. And I am looking for an eye-catching color. You know, I've got blacks, I've got beiges, I've got plenty of coats and jackets. I think that if you are going to leap into the Hermes world of cashmere coats, you might as well go a little bit nuts and get a crazy color. I don't think that Hermes really does crazy colors, but we're talking about things like green or pink. I don't know whether I would go for something like green. I know that green is an amazing color for many people, but I don't know if it's the color for me and my skin tone. But I think if there was something in that sort of pink family or the red family, I would definitely be there for that piece. So in the meantime, let's keep looking out for this new winter 2025 season to drop. I'm hearing that it's probably going to come into stores in the next month or so. So let's keep our eyes out for it. Have you guys got the day sneakers? Is it just me? Are they just comfortable in the first wear, or have yours been comfortable as you've continued to use them into the future? Do you have a cashmere coat? How has yours worn into the future as well? I would love to know how much wear you've gotten out of yours, and if you have been happy with having it in your wardrobe over time. Anyway, it's been so fabulous to have you here, and I will chat to you real soon. Thanks and see ya.